A very good morning to you. I welcome you to this short presentation wherein on behalf of the organizing committee of Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management's first ever International Research Conference IRC 2022, I introduce keynote speakers and their ground-shaking scholarship. We have 4 global luminaries and thought leaders as keynote speakers for the IRC 2022. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Mary Gentile. Richard M. Wade's a bicentennial professor of ethics at the University of Virginia, Darden School of Business, and Professor Debasish Chatterjee, Director I.M. Cozy Code. They will be delivering the keynote address during the inaugural session. Next, during the valedictory session, we have Dr. Oliver Ratley, Senior Lecturer in the Organization Studies at the University of West of England, and Dr. Ashok Khoshla, Chairman of Development Alternatives and a consultant to the World Bank, UNO, and many national and international institutions. I, like the trailer of a movie, put across key insights of each scholarship so that we have a deep keenness to listen to them on the 26th and make the most of their keynote address and interactions. I may also place a disclaimer that due to my cognitive limitations, I might not be in a position to fully grasp the nuances of the ground-shaking theories and work, but as I'm just presenting a trailer before you witness the blockbuster movie from the thought leaders themselves on the 26th of March, I feel less challenged to do so. Let me discuss briefly the scholarship of each in the order they will be presenting on the 26th of March. For the inaugural session, we have Professor Mary Gentile and Professor Debasish Chatterjee. Professor Mary Gentile, in addition to her current role, has been the Harvard Business School case writer, case program manager faculty from 1985 to 1995. She has been inducted into the prestigious Thinkers 50 Hall of Fame for creating long-term impact on the way people think about and practice management. Creator of Giving Voice to Values that has been shared across and or piloted at more than 1,300 business schools and organizations globally. The keynote address of Professor Mary Gentile is on ground-shaking work on giving voice to values. Professor Mary Gentile has authored a best-selling book entitled Giving Voice to Values, and her course entitled Ethical Leadership Through Giving Voice to Values on the Coursera platform is highly popular. It has 19,338 enrollment currently. The question is, what is giving voice to values, or GVV as Professor Mary Gentile calls it? Let me now share the key insights from the research of Professor Mary C. Gentile. Scholars of ethical leadership ask the question, what is the right thing to do? Professor Mary Gentile posed a research question, having known what is the right thing to do, how does one act on it? Her research suggests that there are 7 pillars of actions when faced with values conflict that help in acting on the values. The 7 pillars are values, choice, purpose, normalization, self-knowledge and alignment, voice, reasons and rationalizations. It will be great to listen to her keynote and learn from her ground-shaking research that has huge practical implications for each one of us. In the current times, the impact of her research is applicable and relevant across levels, be it nations, firms, or individuals. Each one of us face the dilemma of whether one should voice and act on one's values. Due to many fears, actual or imaginative, despite knowing what is the right thing to do, we may not act on our values. Often, we do not know how to go about acting on our values despite knowing what is the right thing to do. This is where the research of Professor Mary Gentile and her keynote address will help us to go beyond knowing what is the right thing to do and acting on what we think is the right thing to do. The silver lining is that scholarship in the domain of organization behavior and management practices in progressive organizations give a lot of importance to employee voice. And leaders create a culture wherein employees feel comfortable in voicing their views, which leaders listen and implement for the benefit of the organization. We look forward to listening to the keynote address of Professor Mary C. Gentile, and I'm sure, having understood the concept by listening to her, most of us will try to know the concept deeper by reading her book and doing her course, Giving Voice to Values on Coursera platform. Let me now introduce the second keynote speaker to you, Professor Debashish Chatterjee. He is also the chief guest for the IRC 2022. Professor Debashish Chatterjee has taught leadership classes at Harvard University, at the Indian Institute of Management, IIM Kolkata, Lucknow and Kozhikode for nearly 2 decades and is currently the director of Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. He has been awarded the prestigious Fulbright Fellowship twice for pre-doctoral and postdoctoral work at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. His published work includes 18 books, including the recent release Karma Sutra, Leadership and Wisdom in Uncertain Times, Leading Consciously, that has been translated into several international languages. He has served as Director General of IIM Delhi, India's first corporate-sponsored business school, and as independent director on the board of several multinational and Indian companies. He also served as Dean of IIM Lucknow and Dean of a global business school in Singapore. Trained and coached 30,000 managers and 25,000 school principals spanning an academic career of 30 years. Professor Chatterjee will be speaking on his book, Timeless Leadership, 18 Leadership Sutras from the Bhagavad Gita, which is published by Wiley in 2012. Now, let me share a few key insights from the book, Timeless Leadership. Analogous to the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the book, Timeless Leadership, provides 18 sutras. The word sutra has the same significance as gospel has for the Christians and mean a short aphoristic statement that holds the attention of the reader or listener to the essence of the text message. With respect to the Bhagavad Gita, scholars have generally taken 2 approaches: interpretation with commentaries or interpretation with contextualizing it to the current times. The interpretation with commentaries of Dr. Radhakrishnan is one of the best I have read. However, Professor Chatterjee adopts another approach of recreating the Bhagavad Gita by anchoring these sutras on key ideas of each chapter and enlivening it with his rich experiences and insights from the domain of organization behavior. The importance of reframing a situation, nishkama karma, or unselfish work, being guided by wisdom, and leadership being transcendence, which Professor Chatterjee describes in the book as merging of the personal will with the impersonal will of the cosmic order, provide deep insights for leading at all times. That is why the title of the book, Timeless Leadership. But it is all the more relevant in the current times that are marked with political instability, economic volatility, and societal upheavals. It will be great listening to Professor Chatterjee on the 26th of March and learning from his scholarship and wisdom. Next, in the valedictory session, we have Dr. Olivier Ratley and Dr. Ashok Khoshla, who would be delivering the keynote address. Let me introduce Professor Olivier Ratley to you all. Professor Ratley is a senior lecturer in organizational studies at the University of West England, where he teaches change management and research philosophies, methodologies, and method. Olivier's lifelong work is concerned with how to encourage and protect pluralism in management and organization studies. With his longtime collaborators, he has produced important contributions to the study of academic labor and of early career academics in the contemporary business school, and has published in highly esteemed journals including ephemera, organizational studies, and management learning. The presentation of Dr. Ratley will be based upon the article entitled Academic Arrhythmia, Disruption, Dissonance, and Conflict in the Early Career Rhythms of Critical Management Studies Academics, published in the Journal Academy of Management, Learning and Education in 2019. The article adopts the metaphor rhythms from the influential book entitled Rhythms of Academic Life, Personal Accounts of Careers in Academia, authored by Frost and Taylor and published in 1996. This book has 52 impactful essays that provide behind-the-scenes look at a whole range of professional development issues across a variety of stages within academic careers. The metaphor rhythms signifies the belief that there are recurring issues and challenges that must be confronted at multiple points during professional development. The research of Dr. Olivier and his co-authors examine how the rhythms of early career academics have changed over more than 20 years since this book was published. There is a requirement of providing some background information. Firstly, what is critical management studies and what is meant by arrhythmia? Mats Elvesen, the Swedish scholar, and Wilmot are credited for introducing critical management studies with the publication of their book Critical Management Studies in 1992. The Critical Management Studies, or CMS, blends and employs critical theory and post-structural scholarship. Critical theory, emerging from the works of several generations of German philosophers and social theorists of the Frankfurt School, aims at human emancipation by critiquing and changing society as compared to the traditional approach of merely understanding society as it is. Critical management studies scholars take a reformative approach to management and offers a range of alternatives to mainstream management theory with a view to radically transforming management practice. The common core is deep skepticism regarding the moral defensibility and the social and ecological sustainability of prevailing conceptions and forms of management and organization. CMS motivating concern is neither the personal failure of individual managers nor the poor management of specific firms, but the social injustice and environmental destructiveness of the broader social and economic systems that these managers and firms serve and reproduce. The notion of arrhythmia originally comes from the Greek erythema, lack of rhythm, and is commonly used in the medical sense, denoting a condition in which the heart beats with an irregular rhythm. It is a serious illness that can impact an individual's functioning and quality of life, resulting in tiredness, breathlessness, and in extreme cases, even death. In its sociological and philosophical sense, arrhythmia is similarly pathological, producing distress and crippling cognitive, social, and physical conditions. Dr. Olivier Ratley will share his research on what causes disruption in the rhythm of early career academics and what can be done by them for thriving in their careers. Next, let me introduce Dr. Ashok Khosla to you all. Dr. Khosla is currently the chairman of Development Alternatives Group, a consortium of social enterprises based in India, whose mission is to create technologies, businesses, and markets for large-scale generation of sustainable livelihoods. Earlier, he was director of the Office of Environment, Government of India, and director Infotera in the United Nations Environment Programme. He has been board member of many government, industry, and NGO bodies in India, including the National Scientific Advisory Board, the Science Advisory Committee to the Cabinet, and the National Environment Council. Dr. Khosla studied at the University of Cambridge and Harvard. He was awarded the Stockholm Challenge Award in 2002 the UN Sasakawa Environment Prize in 2002, and the Shava Foundation Award for Outstanding Social Entrepreneur in 2004. Dr. Khushbu, Dr. Ishmita, and I, the core team members of IRC 2022, attended a national summit on sustainability and SDG on the 14th of December last year in New Delhi. And there we were fortunate to listen to the address of Dr. Khosla. All three of us experienced deep respect and admiration for what Dr. Khosla and his work embodies. Seldom do you find a rare confluence of all the four streams of yoga: the Raj Yoga or the contemplative abilities, Bhakti Yoga or devotion and passion, Gyan Yoga or knowledge and wisdom, and Karma Yoga or translating thoughts into action for the benefit of humanity in one person. We feel extremely blessed that Dr. Khosla will be addressing all of us in person on the 26th of March, and invite each one of you to experience sheer excellence and be as inspired by him as we three have been listening to him earlier. On behalf of the organizing committee of IRC 2022, Dr. Gaurav Joshi, Dr. Anush Verma, Dr. Khushbu Raina, Dr. Ismita Singh, Dr. Smita Dayal, and Dr. Rashmi Ahuja, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you to be present for the inaugural and the valedictory session and take benefit of the evolved scholarship of Professor Mary Gentile, Professor Chatterjee, Dr. Ratley, and Dr. Khosla. Each one of them in their own domain are influencing communities and contributing to creating a better world. Thank you so much.